Rick and Morty season is once again almost upon us. And just like for the first half of this season, Adult Swim has unveiled the 5 episode titles that make up the second half, revealing them in a very unorthodox way by following various fans and messaging them 1 episode title apiece. They hit up Kian. You guys know Kian, Cartoon Network schedules. I know it's been a while since we've complained about a television schedule because cable is dying and now I'm in my 20s. Also, they followed me for like no reason. I mean, I'm honored to have the official Rick and Morty account follow me, but I didn't get an episode title. Maybe for season 5. Regardless, I want to go through each of these episode titles and try to assign the proper episode attached. These are definitely the weirdest episode titles yet. One would argue they're not trying anymore. I would argue, oh no, they definitely tried. But I think to create borderline gibberish like this, you put in way more effort than what was needed. I'm gonna issue a potential spoiler warning. I know how serious some of you can take the Funny Pickle Rick show. If you don't want to know Jack Squat or the potential of Jack Squat, click off now. With all that said, let's dive in. The episode rollout begins on May 3rd with the episode Never Rick and Morty. Of course, a play on the movie Never Ending Story, which is about a boy named Bastian who stumbles upon a magic book. As he reads, he discovers that he's a part of the story and that others are following his journey, creating a super meta, literal never-ending story. Although the plot is much more extensive, Rick and Morty episodes tend to take a small component of a film's premise and transforms it into something entirely new. My favorite recent example, the season 4 premiere, Edge of Tomorty, Rick Die Repeat. The basic knowledge of the general public is that Tom Cruise is repeatedly dying in battle and constantly finding himself sent back to the previous day. Rick and Morty took this concept and used it for a premise where Rick repeatedly dies. He finds himself frequently revived through other clones in different dimensions. If I had to guess, Never Rick and Morty could be the episode that deals with the direwolf. Perhaps that really intriguing shot of Morty merging with an astral projection of himself. And most importantly, I think that shirtless super jacked dude with the gray hair just wailing on Rick and Morty in both the season 4 opening and the other 5 trailer is most likely from this episode, but that's mainly from process of elimination as going off those other episodes. Unless this ends up being some kind of interdimensional Cable Morty's Mind Blowers tier cutaway, I can't necessarily see this adventure fitting in anywhere else. But moving on to the episode that premieres Sunday, March 10th, we have Promotius, a riff on Prometheus, but I doubt it has anything to do with the Titan from Greek mythology and more to do with the 2012 movie of the same name. It's a travel to alien world and scary shit happens outing. Now, I believe this episode title could be assigned to the clips of Rick and Morty on an alien planet. They break out their samurai pizza cats armor. As we mentioned in our season 4.5 trailer breakdown, it looks like the alien race they encounter is going to get infected somehow. Probably Rick's doing, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt. And Summer somehow becomes their coveted human queen. Although I'm sure there's going to be some kind of fuck you Summer twist there. Regardless, this episode is already giving me great Guess Who's Purging Now vibes. Oh, the days of normal episode titles. So this is definitely one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most, probably my top 3 if I'm ranking, the top 2 being the final 2 of the season. But before we can dig into those, on May 17th, we have the Vat of Acid episode. Now initially, I believed this could be the episode with Evil Morty, as I suspected the giant vat of acid Rick and Morty is seen jumping into could actually just be a giant portal. That they arrive to the Citadel, they're going to confront Evil Morty some way somehow, and everything would accumulate into the Vat of Acid that actually just sends them into a different dimension. However, many fans have already pointed out that the Vat of Acid episode is the 8th episode of season 4. The 8th episodes of season 1 and 2 being Interdimensional Cable, and season 3's 8th episode being Morty's Mind Blowers, which was another improv episode in the same vein. So possible parallels between Joker and Evil Morty's origins aside, I do believe this is going to be the season's episode where they just riff on everything, almost every other line of dialogue is improvised, and you're better off just shutting down your brain and enjoying the show. By titling the episode the Vat of Acid episode, it does also sound like they're trying to take their crack at a trope that doesn't exist, that every show has a Vat of Acid episode. There are speculations that this could be their take on a bottle episode, where characters are relegated to one location, usually just one room, for the duration of the entire episode. Next up, we have the big one, the penultimate episode of season 4. Airing on May 24th, 2020 is Children of Mort, which seems to be a play on the movie Children of Men. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have not seen this movie, but in doing some light research,
Does he mean Wikipedia? No one knows.
it is a dystopian action thriller film. To read a bit of its synopsis, the film takes place in 2027, where 2 decades of human infertility have left society on the brink of collapse. Illegal immigrants seek sanctuary in the United Kingdom, where the last functioning government imposes oppressive immigration laws on refugees. If you tuned out after I said dystopian and just focused on those words, congratulations, that's all you needed to do. While the episode story structure may loosely follow the film, and all the answers don't lie at just looking up the summary, there is an obvious connection to be made between the mention of a dystopian oppressive government and the forces of Evil Morty, who has taken control of the Citadel, accompanied with the first thing we see in the season 4.5 trailer of a giant panning shot featuring hundreds of CGI Ricks, Meeseeks, and a third unidentified race. It's also worth mentioning that the Children of Men features continuous tracking shots, not too far off from the tracking shot of the Citadel army. Also, just by looking at the title, the fact Children became Childrick paints the illusion of an army of Ricks following the orders of one singular Morty, which, yeah, that is exactly what's happening in the Citadel. Now, assuming this episode follows in the footsteps of Tales from the Citadel, or as is alternatively known, the Rick-Atlantis mix-up, we once again may not actually get to see our Rick and Morty in this episode. It could just be a self-contained story following up on the politics and affairs of the Citadel sometime in the future after Evil Morty has weaseled his way into the throne. Although I would love an episode of our Rick and Morty returning to the Citadel, receiving legitimate interaction between Rick, Morty, and Evil Morty. I actually have an idea of how that storyline could go, but I'll save that theory for another video. Last but not least, on May 31st, we have the season 4 finale, Star Mort's Return of the Jerry, which, as messy of a title that is, we can clearly connect it to Star Wars Return of the Jedi, the conclusion of the original trilogy. And yeah, considering we already saw Summer and Tammy lightsaber dueling in the trailer, we know it's from this episode, which also will see the return of Snowball, a battle against alien cats, which I'm gonna convince myself to believe has something to do with the cat we saw earlier in the season, and ideally, back-to-back plot development. Riffing on Return of the Jedi means involving Rick and Morty's equivalent to the Empire in some way, shape, or form. Of course, I'm referring to the Galactic Federation, which we know is going to rear their heads in this episode. And coming off the heels of an Evil Morty episode, that just sounds too good to be true. But it looks like it is. And again, I don't believe we should disregard the idea that Rick and Morty is capable of dipping its toes even further into serialization. Yes, Rick and Morty is always going to be mainly comprised of episodic episodes. I don't believe we'll ever get a Rick and Morty that is solely story focused, and I don't think it would work as well if it was. Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland have experience with story arcs with the shows they've been involved with in the past. Dan Harmon's show Community, at the end of the 3rd season, right before Dan Harmon got kicked off the show and later rehired, concluded with a status quo shattering story arc that spanned multiple episodes without changing the atmosphere of the show. It was surreal, but really cool seeing these characters in a long-form story that ascended 22 minutes. And with Justin Roiland, he worked on Fishhooks, which, like Rick and Morty, never really strayed away from mainly being an episodic comedy. It had ongoing character arcs with the will they won't they romance between Oscar and Bee. So with a show like Rick and Morty that has a really fun world and somewhat of an intricate lore that lends itself to not giving a fuck, they could actually do something pretty incredible with giving a fuck. And with the idea of them having an Evil Morty episode, followed by an episode that brings back Snowball, which in itself promises an interesting story because Snowball departed to create an intelligent dog society on a different planet, but roping back in Tammy, which in itself brings back in the Galactic Federation and thus Phoenix Person, who I've been dying to see interact with Rick since the season 3 premiere, and Squanchy, who premiered in one of Rick's death crystals, tearing him in half in the season 4 opener, makes a statement that they do want to have a bigger focus on continuity and give fans the answers they've been dying to get their hands on for years, while still being the same Rick and Morty we know and love. The season 3 premiere, The Rick Shank Redemption, is one of the greatest episodes of any animated series of all time, period. And if the show did more to reach those heights, it'd probably be talked about a little bit more. Folks don't realize it, but they love serialized animation. It's why a lot of adults still focus on cartoons aimed at a child demographic. Not just because the people making those shows are writing it for themselves rather than children, but because they also have engaging stories that span multiple episodes with twists and turns that keep you guessing. Rick and Morty tapping into that themselves would be huge. It would encourage other adult animated series to follow that trend. And while I don't want Big Mouth to have some kind of big overarching story, I think with the right ideas, a show could take that concept and go a very long way. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? Which episode are you excited for the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at Thoughts. We're also on Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thoughts, signing out.